TJ Hernandez here, and I'm the founder of RosterCoach.com, a classroom-style video-based website that's designed to help you improve your daily fantasy sports game. Today's preview is from a lesson introducing the concept of stacking in NFL DFS. If you like this video, please like and share it, and don't forget to leave a comment below.
Today we're going to introduce the concept of stacking. Make sure and check out the entire 4-lesson course, as stacking is a crucial component of lineup construction for both cash games and GPPs. Now, what exactly is stacking in daily fantasy? Stacking is where you roster 2 or more players from the same NFL team with the general hope that if one performs well, then the other player or players will also benefit. Stacking is a great way to increase the ceiling of your lineups, but it's also very important to understand that it can lower your floor as well. So with that in mind, it makes perfect sense that stacking is more prevalent in GPPs, and there's definitely positives and negatives of stacking in DFS, but I figured a good way to highlight this would be go through some of my own lineups from 2015, and primarily ones on FanDuel. But before we do that, I wanted to touch quickly on the types of stacks that are out there. So this is from a study I did earlier this summer, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper into it later in the course, but essentially it showed how often certain stacks appeared in lineups that finished in the top 10 of DraftKings and FanDuel's largest GPPs. So stacks range anywhere from 2-man stacks like the obvious quarterback-wide receiver correlation to a more contrarian 2-man stack like running back and wide receiver. Both were extremely effective in GPPs last year, but they carry a bit more risk in cash games. I then go on to highlight 3-man stacks like quarterback, wide receiver, as well as the performance of full game stacks and correlation plays. We won't dig too deep into correlation plays yet, as that could easily be a whole course in itself here on RosterCoach, but the first lineup I want to share with you today is the first of back-to-back weeks in which I earned a ticket to the 4for4 championship on FanDuel. Only the top 5 finishers were given entry to the championship round, so the differentiation was key here. Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr. made a great quarterback-wide receiver stack in a game that quickly became a shootout in Week 8 against a terrible New Orleans defense, but I chose to take it a step further and go with quarterback-wide receiver tight end, adding in Larry Donnell. You're probably saying to yourself, Donnell got 2.7 points. How did that help me? And aside from the fact that Donnell had been a monster in the red zone the past few games, and I don't regret the play, mainly for the reason that he led me to an entirely different roster construction than I would have had otherwise. Moving down from a guy like Greg Olsen, who I knew would be higher owned, allowed me to pay up for both wide receivers I liked that week and still have room for a high upside play like Michael Floyd, who a lot of people were kind of off of with the threat of John Brown returning from injury. It's kind of something that popped up later in the week, and a lot of people took him out of their lineups. It's just kind of the reason I chose to leave him. I think he had the TD upside to help win a tournament of this size. Obviously, there was only 583 people. So, yeah, in a tournament like this, you are going to have some chalk. I think it's perfectly okay in a tournament that's under 600 people. It's not like it's the Millie Maker where you do need to differentiate yourself a little bit more. I think in a tournament of this size, someone's just got to prove to you that they know the right plays. So for me, it was about differentiating myself from the chalk slightly, but in a more contrarian way as far as roster construction as opposed to any specific sleeper or player. By the way, stacking your running back with your defense is a great idea. The entire premise of the running back defense stack is the idea that when a team is ahead, the running back you stack with that defense will get more volume to help kill the clock. Also, the more risks an opposing offense has to take to get back into the game, the higher chance for turnovers for your defense, and that's what you're really looking for. So while the 3-man stack didn't necessarily work out, it did lead me to some plays that did. You got to attribute that to the process in general and not just the result. The next lineup I have to show you was from the very next week, actually in this same qualifier. With this roster, I stacked a running back and a wide receiver, so D'Angelo Williams and Antonio Brown in this case. But you'll be surprised to find out that running back wide receiver is not as negatively correlated as most people think. I'm excited to dig deeper into these 2-man stacks for you guys in the next lesson. Can't give everything away in this introduction. You kind of get the idea. Stacking can be very effective in GPPs, and it's easy to have some success and forget how risky and how much stacking lowers your floor in cash games. So cash games are probably where the majority of your money is invested each week, and sometimes it's just not worth it because contrary to what I've just showed you, a lot can go wrong